Hey moms, my name is Katelyn and I just wanted to share with you a little bit about the seasons. The holidays just tend to bring an added layer of expectations, things to do. So let's just break that down a little bit. We know that Ecclesiastes 3:1 tells us that for everything there is a season, there is a time for every activity under heaven. And when I think about seasons, I've come to really appreciate them because they don't last forever. They bring refreshing. When you're in a season, you look forward to what that season brings, what's special about the season, what to celebrate during that time. But you also have that little glimmer of hope for the one that's next on the horizon and all the beautiful, wonderful little things that come with the next season. So we're always in this moment of hope and looking forward and looking at what's next. And the balance is really trying to appreciate the season that we find ourselves in, whether that be a holiday season or a life season that's challenging. Maybe you're in the baby season, the toddler season, and you're trying to homeschool and you're trying to manage all the things. And you might feel limited by the season that you're in because of the needs of the littlest person in the family. And that's very real. There were some years during our Christmas season that we didn't have a traditional Christmas tree in our home. We had a felt Christmas tree that I made. I cut it out of felt fabric and I made little felt ornaments and put it up on the wall. And just as toddlers like to do, they tore it down, they built it back up, they rearranged the ornaments and put it back on in a variety of ways all throughout that season. And for a couple of those years, I had to lay down my expectations of what I could do. I was at a certain capacity. I was limited by the youngest person in our family, and that was okay. So most of it for me was accepting the season that I was in. And that was our tree for the year, and we made it out. And my main encouragement to you is that, Thanksgiving, Christmas, these times, they are going to come and they're going to go. But let us not miss out on them because we're too stressed by trying to make the season what it is. So I can't make it Thanksgiving any more than it's already going to be Thanksgiving. There's nothing I can do to make it Christmas any more than the fact that it already will be Christmas. Because of what God did for us, He already made it Christmas. There's nothing that I can do to make it Christmas. There are so many pressures during the seasons that end up happening, and we end up sometimes missing what's most important. So I just encourage you to make the most of this season that you find yourself in. Understand the limitations that you might be facing and come to terms with what they are and accept what they are. Maybe this is your baby and toddler season and it's just going to be what it's going to be. That doesn't make it any less. It is still an awesome time, a time to have joy, a time to celebrate, and to take in the beauty of the season that you find yourself in. Because just as seasons come, they also go. So every season's going to look a little bit different. And the encouragement is that you don't have to try to make it what it is. It already is a time of Thanksgiving. It already is a time of celebration and joy and love and giving gifts and receiving gifts and just feeling and sensing the peace that comes from knowing that God sent His Son, God with us, Emmanuel, to live and dwell among us. And He is our hope, and He is the light that shines in the darkness. My number one tip when you have kids in the home, whether they be itty bitty, elementary, or even your older kids that are maybe in those high school levels, my number one tip is to make a list. With that added layer of extra stuff to do around the time of holidays, we can almost develop this other list that tells ourselves that if I don't do this certain thing, then I have failed. If I didn't make the cookies with the kids, I completely blew it, and there went the holiday. That's just simply not true. So I encourage you to take that mental part of it out and write it down. Make your own little mom list and write down the things that you think are the most important things to do during the holiday season with your family. And then I encourage you, without your kids knowing that you've already made a list, give them a piece of paper if they're old enough to write down their ideas, or have them tell you what their ideas are. And as they say it, it doesn't matter what they say, it's your job to write it down, because every idea is a good idea. So many years ago, I did this with my kids, and when it was all said and done, I compared later on by myself my list to their list and how different the priorities really were. My kids did not write down that they wanted to do a hymn study like I had written down. Big surprise there. What was on my kids' list? They wanted to make hot chocolate. They wanted to drive around and look at decorations and pretty lights. They wanted to go sledding. They wanted to read books. They wanted to build a fort. And they wanted to watch movies. Their list was full of fun and wonder. And of all of the things on my list, I made a list of things that was really difficult to, a list of things that were difficult to do, a list of things that were complicated, time-consuming, and expensive. All the things that stressed me out, those were the things on my list. And the things on my kids' list were simple, inexpensive, and not stressful in the least. In fact, they were enjoyable. So it was a beautiful thing to compare the lists and to see what was really important to them. Listen to what the kids want to do during the season and do those things and put those things on the calendar. And I want you to honor that thing that you put on the calendar like it's an important appointment. Okay, this is the time we put on the calendar. This is the time that we're going to make hot chocolate and watch that movie. Okay, it's Thursday. This is the day that we decided we're going to go drive around and look at the lights and the decorations. Let's get ready to go. When they feel seen and heard, they'll feel validated that the thing that was important to them, you made it happen. And their little love tank or their little bucket or whatever you want to call that is going to be full this season because what was important to them happened. Now, I want you to make sure that you're on that list too. Make sure you get something on the list that's important to mom and something on the list that's important to dad, because it's not all about the kids and what they want. It's important that the kids do something that mom wants to do too, even if it's not their favorite. Because doesn't mom do things that they want to do sometimes, even though it's not maybe mom's favorite? So make sure to have that conversation with your kids as you list out all of the things that you want to do together, and make a beautiful, fun little time together that you'll look back and say, I am so glad that I prioritized these simple things. I am so glad that I didn't try to do the complicated, expensive, and stressful thing that no one would have enjoyed anyway. I'm so glad that we did the simple things that they wanted to do, and we built those memories together and grew closer together. The second story that I'd like to share with you is a time when I had all little kids. So I was by myself with our 4 little children, year in and year out, getting them all dressed up in their little fancy dress and their little boy cute outfits and, fighting the fights, getting them in the car, buckled, getting them to church, walking through the parking lot, finding a place to sit, and receiving that little candle that you hold for the candlelight service. Well, year after year, I sat there trying to just get the kids to sit still and stop crawling under the seats and wiggling around and hitting each other and stop all of those things and just try to sing the songs and focus and connect to God during this service and just get something out of it and to model to the kids, like, hey, you should be singing too, and like all of the chaos. And the whole time I just sat there holding my empty candle. Year after year with that empty candle because my kids were too little. They were too young, and I didn't feel like it was safe for me to try to have an open flame near these 4 tiny little kids. And I'll just never forget how empty I also felt during that season. Getting them there by myself, getting through the service, and leaving and going home with them by myself because my husband still had more services to do and to clean up and all of that. taking off those cute little outfits, putting their pajamas on, and all of that. Just that season, I did feel kind of empty, just as empty as my candle. And I remember realizing that I can't just give in to this woe is me feeling. I decided then and there early on that since my husband and I have a non-traditional Christmas Eve compared to some families, it was up to me to make Christmas Eve special. So I decided to introduce a new food on Christmas Eve to my children, something that they'd never eaten before. And we've tried to continue that year after year. We try to watch a special movie together and just, again, with that list, try to do something on that list that somebody wants to do and make it special and make the best of it instead of this woe is me, I feel so tired and empty and alone, like my empty candle. And I'll tell you, the year came when my oldest was maybe, I want to say 7 or 8, somewhere in there in that age range. So then the youngest was like 2 or 3. And I finally thought, well, maybe this year I could receive that flame. And as everyone was passing their candle flame to the next person for the Christmas Eve candlelight service, I held out my candle that had been empty for year after year after year. And I got to light my candle. And I looked over at my oldest son and I realized he's old enough for this too. And I very scarily, leerily passed my flame over to his, and he accepted it with his little empty candle. And then he did a great job passing it on to the person sitting next to him. And I could have just sat there and cried because of all of the years I had felt so empty and so alone. And finally, I know it sounds so silly, it's just a candle, right? But it was so much more than a candle, because that light, the light of Christ, it not only lit up me spiritually on the inside in my heart for that season, but also I got to see that literal light shining and lighting up in my own son's face. And it was just a moment that we shared together. Christmas Eve services did start to get easier and easier year after year. There was less hitting and kicking among the kids and less crawling under the seats and more focus and paying attention and growing. And hopefully this crazy story will help you realize that if you are in an empty candle season, it will not last long. Seasons come and seasons go, and we tend to reminisce and miss the ones that have gone by and continually looking forward to the ones ahead. But let us enjoy the season that we are in, because every day is a gift from the Lord. Remember Psalm 105, "For the Lord is good. His mercy is everlasting. His truth endures to all generations." Whatever season that you may find yourself in today, may you make the most of it and look to God. He is with you, He loves you, and He is walking with you every step of this season. Have a wonderful day and a beautiful holiday season.